All right, I think we are live. Here we go. All right, we're going to check the audio here. All right, testing, testing. We are on.
What's Lindy meeting? That's yours?
Yeah, I'm about to take a meeting on stream here.
Oh, like Lindy meeting.
All right, yeah. All right, people are joining now. So, how's it going, guys? We got a very exciting, action-packed 2 hours here. So, at a high level, what we're going to be doing is, yo, how's it going, Armand?
Hey, Will.
So I just hopped on stream, so I was just gonna give viewers a quick like high level overview of what the game plan for the next couple hours is.
Sure.
So as you guys can see, we're gonna be chatting with the amazing Armand to kick it off, and chatting with a couple other MyWorker customers, so you guys get to see kind of how these strategy sessions go, what we're gonna be focused on. Gonna hear about some really amazing businesses from some great founders and CEOs, and then by the end, ideally, we're going to be able to take some time to address any questions. But as we're going through things, feel free to drop it in the chat. So yeah, man, Armand, I appreciate you hopping on legitimately last minute. I messaged you right before the stream here.
Yeah, glad to be here. For anyone that's listening out there, my name is Armand McGurran. I'm the founder and CEO of Timestamp Financial. We're an investment platform that helps founders raise community capital and really build for the Bitcoin standard. We have a lot of potential stakeholders that we want to get involved with Timestamp. And that's why I reached out to Will and MyWorker AI to see how we could work together to really attack our go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, and it's actually funny too because we had initially got put in touch through my last company, Saz Mining, in terms of us trying to work with you guys for our business. And yeah, I mean, a lot to go through here, and I think there are really some great ideas in terms of the overlap between what you guys are doing and not just Saz Mining, but also my worker. So, I mean, to make the most of the time, maybe we could just kind of recap what the business does and then what key areas we want to dive into here in terms of how we can leverage my worker to hit the different target customers and plan out the go to market.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about this from a business owner's perspective and really think about how we want to attack this as an owner of a business and using the tools for our growth and expansion. So the way I think of an investment platform as a business is it's essentially a two-sided marketplace. On one side, you have companies that are raising money. On the other side, you have investors that are potentially interested in investing in these companies. Now, what we found just through some basic market research is that there is a lot of segmentation to be had on both sides of this marketplace, which is where a tool like MyWorker AI might be super useful for us in particular, is the fact that we get a chance to potentially hone our message for our various ICPs. So before I deep dive into this, and feel free to kind of have a back and forth with me here, Will, is if you just take one side of the marketplace, say the investor side of the marketplace, an investor can come in many shapes and sizes, and those different buckets of investors have different pain points that we'd want to address. So for example, an investor can be all the way down from a retail investor that might be interested in investing in a couple $100 in companies they love, or they can be all the way on the high end where they might be a venture capitalist. And the pain points are very different. So the way I like to think of the investor side of the marketplace, starting there, is that you have retail investors, you have angel investors. So angel investors would be people that are writing checks on a more regular basis than retail investors. They take this on as a hobby or potentially even a side job where they like deal flow. They want to be able to look at all these opportunities, make decisions, and invest in several companies a year. And then you have family offices where it's essentially a similar idea to angel investors, but tend to have a little bit more in terms of capital behind the scenes, and their decision-making process tends to be slightly different. They might also choose to invest in certain industries or certain stages of companies. And then you can go up that value chain to, say, venture capitalists, where they might be interested in timestamp, not necessarily to invest directly in companies, but perhaps they have portfolio companies that are currently sitting in their portfolio that might benefit from a raise from timestamp because it gets them proper brand visibility and it gets them to raise from retail investors, which they don't typically do through the VC rounds. So we really have a lot of different stakeholders, and that's just one side of the marketplace that we want to attack. And each of them has different pain points and characteristics that we want to make sure we address in our messaging so that we have effective go-to-market strategies to bring in all these stakeholders and really grow our platform properly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things, just for like context, I know that you know this, Armand, but in the history of building SaaS mining, we've gone through many different areas of growth. And one of the big areas that I guess you alluded to in terms of the benefits of running some type of, crowdfunding campaign is the actual marketing value that you get from that. So as we were trying to grow our community at SaaS Mining, and then also just connect with more mining rig owners, I think that it was actually a really powerful way to help us grow. And we had previously run a campaign on Start Engine, and that was a noticeable jump just within our company as a whole. So I love that you guys are also taking the approach of being like a Bitcoin first company. I know that you and we share a lot of values in many ways regarding that. Uh, so yeah, I mean, in terms of diving in here with MyWorker and figuring out which stakeholders or ICPs that we want to go and help like get involved with timestamp, what are some of the areas that you kind of had in mind or that you were thinking of targeting first in regards to that marketplace?
So if you look at that two sides of the marketplace, investors and companies on the other, I think there is a interesting approach if you think of it in terms of concentric circles, right? Like typically when you're, let's say, constructing a pitch deck for your company, you'll usually have these concentric circles where you'll have a SOM, SAM, and a TAM, like a obtainable market, an addressable market, and then a total addressable market. And the general thinking there is the obtainable market is what's in front of you. That's what you can tackle that are maybe high conversion targets that would love your product. And then the SAM would be people just outside that circle that it would take a little bit more effort to target them, but technically they're within reach. And that is something that you should be thinking about attacking. And then the total addressable market is just that giant piece of the pie that you want to attack. Say it's all startup investing or all Bitcoin mining or what have you, whatever industry you're in. So when I think of that, I think of those two concentric circles on either side of the marketplace. So I like to think that on the company side, our high value targets, the companies that get our perspective and really understand what we're trying to build on, and what I would call easier sells, where the value proposition is so obvious, are more often than not Bitcoin native companies because they understand the value of the tooling that we're building. And it's also companies that tend to be more community centric or customer focused. So, for example, SaaS Mining is a great example. SaaS Mining is going to be launching a campaign soon on timestamp. They're a great example of a company that is a perfect fit in our ICP, in that inner concentric circle. They're Bitcoin native. They understand all the tools that we're building. They understand the value proposition of raising from a community. They're very customer focused. So that is a very good fit for us. And I think those are the companies that we'd want to target first. That first persona that I build out, and I'm thinking of really pushing hard, is the Bitcoin native founder. The people that are building Bitcoin native companies, and they are, I'd say, seed stage and above. So anything that's just not, you didn't just spin up a company, but you've had a company at least for a few months, if not a year, and you're looking to raise community capital. I think those are really our sweet spot beachhead targets. And then I think once you go beyond that, I'd consider that second category, uh, the expansion, to be Bitcoin affiliated companies or Bitcoin curious companies. So these tend to be companies that are not necessarily operating in the Bitcoin world, but they're Bitcoin curious. Maybe they've installed something for Bitcoin payments, or maybe they're thinking about Bitcoin treasuries, but they just don't know how necessarily to incorporate that in a way that is suitable for their business to talk to their investor base or all their stakeholders. So these are people that have dabbled in the Bitcoin space, or maybe they are adjacent to the Bitcoin space. So things like energy, but not yet Bitcoin miners, or hardware, but not yet into Bitcoin hardware, or even wallets, but not necessarily Bitcoin only just yet, because they're still learning. So, for example, several people that were crypto and now just Bitcoin only. So those people tend to be just outside our range of obtainable targets, but worthy of addressing. And then anything beyond that, I would consider startup founders or small businesses, and you can do a lot of segmenting there because the messaging would be slightly different. But that would be, to me, an expansion that requires a more generalist approach. And I think for us, as we grow our platform, we'd like to start from the inside out on that side of the marketplace, and then do the same on the investor side. So very quickly on the investor side, I think our sweet spot is really the angel investors and the family offices, the type of people that will be writing checks regularly on an annual basis, maybe 3 to 5 times a year, and they're looking for deal flow to be active. They want to be the ones reviewing the deals. They want to be the ones investing in the deals. They don't necessarily want to write a check to a VC or an investment firm to do the investing on their behalf. They like being active in those deals. So that's how I look at those inner circles. Is on one side you have the Bitcoin native or Bitcoin affiliated companies as a good starting point, and then on the other side you have the angel investors and family offices as a good starting point.
Yeah. Thank you for laying that out, man. That's actually really helpful, and it lays the foundation perfectly for a couple follow-up questions. And so
Mhm.
if I was just to say it back and tell me if I'm off base on anything,
Mhm.
the innermost circle you're talking about is companies like Saz Mining, but these Bitcoin
Mhm.
native companies that have traction, that are looking to expand and familiar with the additional value that you guys bring. Outside
Mhm.
of that is that ring of Bitcoin curious companies or people that are right on the edge. And then right outside of that is the investors. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah, and
did I get that right, or is there anything
I
else?
would almost split them up into two different concentric circles, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh, keeping the investors on the other side, and then the outside circle for the company side would just be, all other startups, companies, private in the private world. So, for example, and this is just it's a good thing to know as a company where your market is and where it's going, and drawing some lines early on so you're not wasting a lot of effort necessarily going after people that are not going to be good fits in terms of ICP. And that could be people that are, in our case, for example, too early. For example, a company that doesn't have the capital or the community to really raise effectively through crowdfunding, is going to be a tough fit for them, and really just a bad experience because they don't necessarily have a community that they can tap into. But also on the other side, if we're spending a lot of effort on generic software companies that just don't really understand the value of either um, community or Bitcoin, then it just becomes a harder mountain to climb. So that's why I tend to think of them as the last ring or the outside ring of that concentric circles on the founder side, because I think that they will come to us as we approach them, right? As every
Hmm.
company becomes a Bitcoin company and sees the value proposition of Bitcoin and wants to get on a Bitcoin standard, they'll move closer to us. And by the time we've built outwards, we'll be in a better position to really address them on a level playing field instead of having to run uphill right now. So that's why I think of those Bitcoin native and Bitcoin curious founders and companies as those inner circles on the founder side.
Yeah. Also, I want to dive into the ICPs with you, but real quick, I'm just so curious by the artwork that you got in the background.
Yeah.
Like, what is the story behind those pieces?
Yeah, so the artwork in the background, those are actually original paintings by an artist named Madex, Madex.
Yeah.
And he's actually become a good friend of mine. He does a lot of beautiful artwork related to Bitcoin, freedom, all these types of great grand themes, and I feel like they really speak to me being a Bitcoiner, particularly. And he's actually become a good friend of mine over time too. So I'm a
Awesome,
big
man.
fan of his. He has a site madex.art. I'm happy to promote his work all the time.
Yeah,
So
toss it in the chat here. And I'll
yeah,
pull it up at some point.
yeah, he does quite a few. He does quite a few exhibits. I know he did one this year in Europe. And then he does quite a few at the Bitcoin conferences. And actually, this bull that's sitting above my right shoulder here, he was a showpiece at one of the Bitcoin conferences, I think 3-4 years ago, and that's where actually I met him. And
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah,
Look at
so
that. That's awesome, man. Sweet. So on the ICP front, maybe we tackle them one at a time. So starting with
mhm.
the core Bitcoin uh, company, are there certain, like that innermost beachheads, are there any certain things that stand out in terms of why they would want to go with you guys, and like how you
Mhm.
guys solve their pain points in a way that, you know, the other providers on the network don't really do so?
So I actually started building out this persona on MyWorker just as a test run.
Yeah,
And
if you don't mind, maybe we could even toss up a screen share.
yeah, let me see if I can pull this up.
And for those of you watching, depending on what platform you're on, right now, Armand, he's pulling up screen share of MyWorker's product. And this is the part of the product where you build out your target customer profile. And so that's everything from the description all the way down to their pain points, and then how your solution can solve those pain points. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's
So
do it.
this is a little early. Obviously, we haven't run campaigns on this. You and I are still talking about like building out these personas, but I think it's good for people to see us put one of these together live and see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
So, starting with the background information, I wanted to just focus in on the Bitcoin native startup founder and create that as a persona for someone we can target. A question to you now, Will, is this person better categorized as an individual client or a business client?
I think in this case, for all of these, we're going to be going after business clients. It's
Right.
more if you're doing like a B2C type of product,
Mhm.
more consumer focused, then you would turn that to individual.
Perfect. Yeah. So, in terms of the description, I wanted to really describe a founder who's building the infrastructure, the tooling, the services that depend on or extend Bitcoin's functionality. So anything from mining to custody, Lightning, exchanges, lending platforms, Nostr. These things are a wide ranging now, much more wide ranging than when I first discovered Bitcoin 10 years ago, when it was just basically exchanges or nothing. So there's quite a bit of differentiation in terms of the different avenues we can go down. And I wanted to make sure I can capture them properly without necessarily overextending my reach.
Hmm.
So, in terms of the target audience, I wanted to target people that were decision makers for that company. So, founders, co founders, CEO. And in fact, I could probably even expand this a little more to a few more decision makers. but I don't necessarily want to be talking to people that say like a software engineer on the team, because that would require me to have multiple conversations just to get up to the point where I was talking to a decision maker. Instead, I wanted to focus in on the decision makers from the start. So I chose to narrow down my scope to founders and CEOs for the time being.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, we can always create more and more personas. So the more dialed in and specific that we can get with each persona, the better. Because then you're just really going to be able to speak to that particular small audience's pain points and solutions and all of that.
And in terms of pain points here for Bitcoin founders, and this is where I was really wanting to hone in on Bitcoin native founders, and you might know this from your time at SAS Mining specifically. I wanted to hone in on their particular problems that might be slightly different than a typical software startup or any other business. The first thing that I wanted to hone in on is the struggle to raise capital from mainstream VCs who don't really understand the value proposition of Bitcoin. Because I've found, even through timestamp, that if you're trying to raise from VCs or investors that don't typically understand the value proposition of Bitcoin, the conversation always starts with first the conversation on Bitcoin, then a conversation of the company, and it becomes a bit of a hassle because you have to essentially convince them on both before you even consider getting an investment. I
A
don't know if
hundred
you've had,
percent.
yeah,
It's actually so funny because this is actually really interesting. I didn't even think of this when I just asked you to hop on the call last minute, but I think that it's really interesting because I am perfectly within your beachhead, and we
yep.
were actually, we're working together through SAS Mining, and so it's, uh, yeah. I mean, reading this and seeing how you filled this out, and just knowing you filled this out perfectly. I mean, you're nailing the pain points, and it shows that you've got a good understanding of, these Bitcoin founders that, like I've been through all of these, and I can see that these are all areas that we care about, and it makes sense how without like we naturally were attracted to your guys's your company really.
And I will say, like, talking to the team at SAS Mining, I feel like the conversations were very smooth. I think the value proposition was clear to both sides, and it was we were very excited to work together right away. And I think you noticed that as a business, that finding that the right ICPs and people love to throw around the word product market fit, but really it's about finding the customers that will benefit most from the value that you're providing. And if you can find those customers, then everyone has a great experience and you both end up better for it. And I think that's the best case scenario in any business. And so when I think of these Bitcoin native founders, I hear a lot of these themes consistently, and I've actually experienced it myself with timestamp too. Is number one is the a lot of investors you go to are just not familiar enough with Bitcoin that you have to have the conversations with Bitcoin before you even have the conversation about the company. Number two is you have very limited access to capital that's aligned with Bitcoin principles. So even if you do find VCs that are Bitcoin uh, native or Bitcoin, let's say, accepting of Bitcoin and those principles, there's very few of them. You can probably count them on a hand or two, maybe a few more. But even then, they all have specific criteria. Like you might have experienced, for example, dealing with Bitcoin VCs that don't invest in mining or in energy
Yeah.
because they.
It's so funny that you bring that up. Most people do not know that, but even when you niche down to the Bitcoin investors,
Yep.
one of the big challenges and one of the reasons why we ended up going the route that we were going was that we were stuck in this no man's land where we weren't a traditional SaaS play because there was the hardware side of the mining. But
Mhm.
on the other side, we weren't necessarily a pure play miner that just like, many of these public companies that are just only focused on one area of the value chain in mining. And so we were in this mix of a couple of different models, and the people who actually in a funny way understood the value prop the most was just the end customer. It's like, hey,
Yep.
you want to start mining instead of buying Bitcoin on exchanges, you want to get wild sats, you want to do these things that maybe the VC doesn't really see or care about, but the community can really get behind. So I think that to your point and what you put here, I'm glad you put it, is this community ownership in any type of business model, especially in Bitcoin. You if you can build that community and find those people who are values aligned, Bitcoiners want to help other Bitcoiners. And I think that businesses can pour rocket fuel on that by getting involved with a, a crowdfunding type community, but particularly centered around getting the hive mind of your Bitcoin
Mm.
tribe together. So I think that you're nailing it here in the pain points and the ICP.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in a room with a Bitcoin native founder, a company, talking to hundreds, maybe even thousands of people, and they have a great experience. People love them. People are telling them how much they love their product, how much they love their vision, etc. And then I follow up with that founder, and I realize that they're struggling to raise capital because particular investors don't invest at their stage or don't invest in their particular niche, whether it's mining or wallets or whatnot. And meanwhile, they just walked out of a room that would have undoubtedly invested in them if they had the chance.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those things where you see it so many times that you think that, yeah, there needs to be something done about this. And that's really part of the origin story timestamp, is seeing so much disconnect between the founders that are building these great things, their communities that really love them, and then just this disconnect in the capital markets between them.
Yeah, 100%. So let's open up that final drop down for
Mhm.
solutions and objections.
So here's how I thought about this, and please feel free to give me your feedback on this because you guys have actually been through this as well. So
Yeah.
in terms of the solutions, uh, the first solution, like the grand theme, is you want to raise from a global base of aligned investors who share your vision, right? You get to have people that are really understand what you're doing and really get that skin in the game. So from a business owner perspective, and maybe I should flesh this out a little bit more here from a solutions perspective, it's it's the idea that you get to turn uh, customers and community into investors and ambassadors really for your brand with skin in the game. And then you also get the reverse effect too, where you get investors that can also become customers. So it's a great acquisition tool. And this kind of flywheel between customer and investor is a super powerful one for any business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to build on that, I think the other things that we wanted to focus in on here, which will definitely flesh out over time, is the fact that I think some of the and this goes taps into some of the objections, but it also as part of the solutions, is the fact that I think a lot of um, these public equity crowdfunding raises are misunderstood, and part of it is because early on, when the laws were first passed, the Jobs Act was passed and implemented. A, now over 2016 is when it was implemented. 2012 when it was passed. The infrastructure to actually support these raises wasn't in place then. So a lot of times founders would raise through equity crowdfunding rounds and their cap table would be a mess, right? Because the infrastructure to help these founders raise through equity crowdfunding wasn't there yet. But a lot of that has changed in the last 5 years. So now if someone wants to raise through timestamp, uh, they can raise through timestamp and have all those investors pulled into one line on the cap table or even a couple lines on the cap table, depending on the type of raise. And so they don't have to worry about the cap table being a mess. So from a founder's perspective, when you're thinking about institutional raises later or just keeping your cap table clean, it's actually a great solution to do that and still involve your community. And I think a lot of founders don't necessarily know that that's the case because they've heard some stories from early on in crowdfunding when the infrastructure wasn't there. So that's another thing that I've heard commonly as a from a founder's perspective is like, yeah, that's great. I want to get community involved, but it's going to mess up my cap table. So that's one thing that I want to try to include in this, both solutions, but also in countering the objections to make sure that that's covered in there.
Yeah. Well, talking from the experience with SAS mining, I know that when we ran it and we were viewing this as a not just capital raise, but community building marketing tool,
Mhm.
it definitely was a big lift in the organization. We got aligned internally and we said, hey, there are all these different paths we can go down, but this path here, it's like two birds, three birds with one stone. And when
Mhm.
you do come across just, when we end up launching the campaign and try and really speak to solving that, and I guess it goes to understanding timestamp a little bit better.
Mhm.
Um, let's say that a founder comes and they said, Armand, this sounds great, but we're just really resource constrained. I'm not sure. I don't want to have a raise that we do and then it doesn't go well and it looks bad. How do you kind of explain how the process looks and you support those founders to kind of address that question that might come up?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think that's going to go towards some of the objections and the building of our talking points here. So, the way I like to approach it, first and foremost, with any founder, is to think about if this is a great fit for them. So, I like to be very honest with the approach that founders should take with this type of raise and how I think they can be most successful. It's always unpredictable exactly how a raise is going to go, but I have a good sense of what directionally if it's going to be relatively successful. And the reason why I say that is I think there are some prerequisites for a company to really have the best possible outcome for their specific race. So first and foremost, I think there are some foundational pillars to a raise that are just unavoidable. So they're boring, but you have to have them. So the legal side of things, you want to make sure all your documents are well done and taken care of, reviewed by attorneys. The accounting side, you want to make sure you have the proper disclosures in place to actually launch one of these campaigns. Those are nice and boring, but we help you take care of those at timestamp. Now, the stuff that's once you get past those basic hurdles, like how do you actually think about the success of your raise? I think you start first with your own customer base and community because that will give you a sense of the possibilities in terms of what you can raise. If you have a customer base of or even a customer list of tens of thousands of people and you're raising a few $100,000 or even a few $1 million, I think you have a great starting point to actually start raising capital. However, if you're a super early stage founder, let's say you just started your company last week and you want to start raising capital, you don't really have a network, that's where I would have an honest conversation with you and say, well, it's not that you can't succeed. You can absolutely go knock on a bunch of doors. You can spend a lot of money on marketing and advertising and be really successful, but the odds are stacked against you. So I want to make sure you have a full understanding of that before you dive into it. And then if you do, you want to make sure you do things that counteract that. So lots of marketing and advertising and a push on knocking on doors, etc. But let's talk for the ICP founder. Saz Mining is a great example, right? You get through the legal, you get through the accounting. We help you take care of all that kind of stuff. In terms of your actual uh, raise and how successful you'll be, I think number one, it's going to be your storytelling. It's really how you tell the story of your company and the story of your raise. Number two, it's going to be how you really approach your current customers and investors and community. And do you feel like you're giving them a great opportunity to invest in something that they already love? A lot of times, your best odds of success in getting investors are people that already know you, trust you, and love you, whether that's family, but in this case, it's also your investors and your customers. So, and that includes past investors, by the way. That's another thing to add here. If you have past investors, if you have investors that missed out on a previous round that would love to get involved in a follow-up round, if you have customers that use your products already, that's a great starting point because you can start running internal models to figure out exactly where you might stand with certain conversion rates. My good friend, my chief marketing officer James always likes to say, ultimately, you're selling a financial product, right? An investment is a financial product. So if you as a company can think of it as a financial product, you're essentially thinking about converting people that are visiting your page to invest in SaaS mining. So you have to increase the throughput, so the volume of people that are getting to your page, and you have to increase the conversion rate to have people actually invest in the company. So that's where the last part comes in, that throughput. That marketing and advertising, to me, is an essential part of a campaign. And so one of the honest conversations I have with founders is, I hope you really take marketing and advertising this campaign seriously, because it might be the determining factor for how successful you might be. You can very well be relatively successful without a serious marketing and advertising plan, but without something that is well thought out and executed, I don't think you'll really get the benefits of a crowdfunding raise or public raise the way you'd want, because you have this great opportunity with these types of raises to legally market your campaign, which you don't really get to do
Yeah.
in many other avenues, like a Reg D, for example.
Actually, on that point, and it just brought an idea into my mind. I was really thinking through this ICP, and I've been through it. So in a weird way, there's almost like a reverse customer interview where it's like
Yeah.
you're hearing from your target beachhead. You want to know what would make it really interesting for us as
Mhm.
SaaS mining work? I mean, we're already working together, but something that I think would help do this differentiation in a way where an end user, an end customer would just think, wow, like a Bitcoin company would be like, I'm not even going to consider even taking a second thought about Start
Mhm.
Engine. What it
Mhm.
would be on this marketing front, what if we ran a MyWorker campaign to target and get in touch with all the big media players like the podcasts, whoever in Bitcoin, and then as part of it, strike a deal with those networks or whatever, where it's like, hey, whenever we have companies that come in through our like platform, we're guaranteeing them, one or two or however many appearances across this network of different uh, these platforms. And then with those platforms, maybe there's any type of arrangement that you work out with them. But then as a Bitcoin company, as an end customer, I'm thinking, okay, well, why would I go with you guys over Start Engine? You know, and there's all the other reasons why they would, So I think that they would either way. But especially if you just sprinkle that on, where look, you're a Bitcoin company, you want to raise from Bitcoin investors, they're focused broadly. We're trying to get you in front of the Bitcoin audiences, and we've got the network of all the top media there. Bang! All of a sudden, it's like a no-brainer. It's already a no-brainer, but it becomes a double no-brainer if you have like something like that.
And that's the cool thing about it. It's a blessing and a challenge, I would say, of timestamp, is we have so many potential stakeholders that the more you think about it, the more you can add. And that's another key component, is thinking about distribution, right? And thinking about media and attention, right? We live in an attention economy. So both for timestamp and these individual companies, getting that attention is going to be such a big part of being successful in a raise. Because ultimately, if someone is thinking about $1,000 they have in their bank account and how they're going to invest it, this is another thing that I think is a very interesting topic on the investor side of things that we've discovered internally. If you're going to convince people to invest $1,000 into your company, it requires enough attention to where people know you exist, they trust you, they might even be your customer, but they also have multiple touch points, because investing is a very personal decision.
Mm,
Very rarely do people just invest on a first go. And in fact, a lot of data shows that it requires multiple touch points, sometimes 5 to 10 touch points, for someone to really decide to invest, even if it's a small amount. And so getting consistent attention, whether it's webinars, podcasts, event appearances, all these things are very important for you to be super successful as a company and having a successful raise.
yeah, 100%. Also, as a heads up, I might have a customer call in 5 minutes here. Um, Someone they said that they might be late, so that's the one thing. But I just
That's
wanted to give you a
perfect.
heads up.
I have to jump at 3 at the top of the hour Eastern, so that's perfect. We can wrap this up whenever that person jumps on, no problem.
Okay. Awesome, man. Yeah, so I mean, this persona, it looks good to go to me. I think you did a really good job making it. And uh yeah, we can test out if we want to niche it down a little bit more in the
Mhm.
future, or change certain things, but I think that that's going to be good for an initial campaign. Maybe if we want to just go through one other one really
I
quickly
was
with the
gonna
last 5
say,
minutes.
why not just show the other side?
Yeah, let's do
Show
it.
an angel investor. Let's take this as a chance to kind of go over the other side of the marketplace, right? So, in terms of creating this one, I wanted to focus in on an angel investor particularly. So this is an individual that likes to invest on a regular basis. They are looking for opportunities. So our goal is to essentially say that timestamp is a great way to get involved. It's free to sign up. You'll get a bunch of deal flow and opportunities, and you'll get all the information to actually review yourself before you make an investment decision. So our ideal clients tend to be angel investors that like deal flow and like to make decisions on their own behalf. So in terms of the description, I described it as a high net worth individual that's actively investing in early stage startups. They're not necessarily focused on Bitcoin, but they're open to emerging sectors and differentiated deal flow, especially those with strong founder conviction, a growing movement, and community traction. So that's the basic description of that person that I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
in terms of the pain points in particular, I think deal flow is number one. So lack of deal flow is one of their pain points. Uh, Not having enough differentiation or high conviction investments. Maybe a lot of their investments tend to be in one particular category, and they want to branch out into some emerging tech, into some Bitcoin companies, for example, or even just frontier tech in general. And I've also heard this as well. People that are a little bit tired of the Web3/token noise that maybe they got caught up in, and they're looking for actual companies with solid fundamentals instead.
Yeah.
So they want access to founders that have skin in the game. Maybe they have some early product market fit. They want clear, structured terms and transparency, and they don't want to deal with the hype of a token raise, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
And then lastly here, I think in terms of the solutions and then the objections, uh, the solutions that we're trying to provide are curated, founder-led communities that are participating in these companies with traction, and they have this founder-led conviction. You really get a personable experience with Timestamp. You get to know the founders, you get to know the team, you get to know their company and their story before even having to decide to make any decisions in terms of investing. So all of these raises are structured. They have to file what's called a Form C with the SEC, so you can read extensive documentation about their company. They have to disclose their financials, so even their financials are public. So you get really more than you might even get if you were an angel investing on your own. So you get really the full scope of the company before you have to make that decision. And then some of the common objections that I might hear from a typical angel investor is um, equity crowdfunding being maybe too focused on retail and thinking about them getting lost in the shuffle of a bunch of investors. And I actually had quite a few investors early on before we talked to them thinking that when they invested in an equity crowdfunding offering, they might lose things like voting rights and they might just get lost in the shuffle with a bunch of people that are investing way less than them. So there were two things that we did to help counteract people that might be writing larger check sizes. Number one, we offer founders a way to offer bonus terms and incentives for people that are writing larger checks. So, for example, you might have a safe that has a certain valuation, but if someone is investing 10,000, you might give that lower valuation. So it mimics a very natural, organic negotiation. And then the second part of that is that from an investor's perspective, we actually don't use what's called SPVs. So some other platforms, and this is part of our differentiation as well, some other platforms might use what's called an SPV, which is a special purpose vehicle that people pool their funds into, and that vehicle invests into the company. But the problem with those is that an investor essentially gives up their voting rights to a lead investor that's controlling the voting rights for everyone in that block. And so if you're an angel investor that's writing a larger check, you might write this larger check into the company, but just completely lose all your rights as an investor. And so we don't do that. We actually use a securities custodian. We use BitGo. Some people that might be listening are familiar with BitGo. So BitGo is our securities custodian, and everyone gets voting rights, and Bitcoin just acts as a custodian of their securities for the sake of the founder and the company. But they can choose to do what they like with it. They have the same voting rights. They can transfer the securities based on all the rules and regulations that you would typically see. And they really get the best of both worlds, where they get to invest in these companies but still keep their voting rights the way they would if they were investing directly into these companies.
Yeah. Yeah, BitGo is great. And I think that running through all those, once again, it's like you're reading my mind with all these things that you're mentioning in terms of the objections that might come up. I mean, from an angel investor, uh, I think that you hit on that one big point, which is just those rights, the quality of the deal flow, and what other incentives would they have? You know, I've raised from some angels in the past, and one of the things that was mentioned to me that I think helped get certain investments across the line or made them decide to make that decision to invest was just the fact that they got to be closer to the founder, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's kind of an interesting incentive. So having those thresholds that you mentioned, whether it's additional terms or maybe even just any type of incentive that could get that angel to think, hey, you're almost like buying access in a weird way to being able to call up that founder once, once every month or so.
Actually, this is a great point. I had a conversation with the SAS mining team on this in terms of how to structure incentives and how to think about structuring incentives, let's say. And I always think of it in three ways. So there's terms, there is physical rewards, and then there is access. And that's actually how I phrase it to founders. So terms would be, hey, you're investing more, so you should get better terms on a deal, which is very natural and organic to a negotiation. I think without that, it's tough to have big ticket sizes in terms of investors, because very rarely will an investor invest on the same terms if they're investing 50,000 versus say $500. They're going to want better terms. So I think it was important for us to make sure we built that into the foundation. So now every founder has that opportunity to do that, whether they raise through a safe or shares or what have you. Two is you could offer physical rewards as well. So if you um, let's say, actually, I know SAS Mining's raise is coming up. They're offering physical rewards for various different tiers when they do launch, and it'll be things like cold cards and bid axes and etc. So things that are really cool and relevant to their world that they're building in. And I've also seen people that are doing things like uh, playing cards or early release of products, etc. And then the last part, which you mentioned, is access. I think a lot of investors, especially the big ticket item investors, they really want to feel involved. They want, hey, I'm going to invest, 5 figures in this company, maybe even 6 figures in this company. I want to get to know the founders better. I want to be involved better. So I've actually seen some founders at certain thresholds uh, give incentives to potential investors of like, hey, if you invest at this amount, you can sit in on our monthly meetings or our quarterly meetings. You can become an important member of this particular committee or get special access to this. So it's interesting that you brought that up, because I think that one in particular is more valuable than terms or physical rewards to a certain type of investor.
Absolutely. It's actually been really interesting just seeing it firsthand with a lot of people. I mean, and it's natural if you think about, a lot of these people, they're high net worths, they've got a lot of money, and maybe they're at the point in their life where they want to optimize for experiences. And if you're going to go and pay for, a big trip or whatever it might be, maybe the only way to get your foot in the door in certain types of experiences with a founder or whatever it might be, or a particular type of role might be investing the in the company. So that it's great that you guys also have the flexibility for building in those incentives.
Yeah, so I think maybe this is a good place to pause. We talked about a couple of the different ICPs, And at some point down the road, once we kind of put our heads together and put this together, it would be great to see some of these campaigns that we launch on MyWorker and see how we can work with them, adjust them if needed, optimize them, and see what the success is going to be like, both in terms of opens and interested leads. And I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, me too, man. I think that in terms of the next steps here, we've purchased a number of different domains, and we're gonna be able to, I guess, next time just start running them in public. And yeah, we'll have
Mhm.
to get you back on. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. This was fun to kind of work through this live and get to hear your feedback. Is actually valuable for me too, because you guys are RICP from a SaaS mining side, so I get to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things, and I wish I did it more earlier on when I just started building, but having the ability to just chat in depth in like these more long form discussions with the ideal
Mhm.
target beachhead customer, and then really just try and pick their brains and just riff kind of like we did here. It's unbelievably valuable, and that's why I'm trying to do it more now. And then also on trying to do it on stream too. So what I do after these streams, I just started doing this, by the way. I think I mentioned it to you, but I toss it into Opus Clip. So then it just clips it up into a bunch of short form content. And so at the end of today, I will toss this in, I'll clip it up, and then we can, um, hopefully it's valuable social content. I mean, you explained stuff in a really, really uh, good, digestible way. So I think that it could be useful, maybe as some type of explainer or something, talking about what you guys do.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And then also, uh, I think doing this regularly would be really cool to see the progress, and then to see what comes of it, because it's really, if I was if I showed you my pitch deck right now, which we're heading into a raise ourselves. Oddly enough, and people ask me this all the time. Oh, why don't you raise for timestamp on timestamp? That's the dream. We can't legally do that, so it's really funny. I built a perfect solution
Oh,
to
that
raise.
is so funny. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
not
I
legally
built a
allowed to do it
perfect
for yourself.
solution. Yeah, it's such a ideal solution for me to raise, and I know it's perfect because I built it to be perfect for my needs and anyone else in my position. Uh, and I just can't use it legally, so I have to kind of do it the old way. And now that I'm doing it the old way, I'm realizing why I built this in the first place again. It's like I
Hmm.
get to revisit it all over again and see like, oh, it's so painful to raise like the way people typically do,
Yeah,
that I
I've
get
been
to
there,
experience
bro.
it all again. So
Yeah.
um,
Actually, to that point, another thing, we'll coordinate offline, but what we can do is we'll set another time to go through things. I think on that next one, we can
mhm.
we can finalize a campaign, actually kicking one off, and then maybe even if we have extra time, there's one other idea that uh, I have that, and maybe if you say it doesn't make sense, maybe it doesn't make sense. But one of the powerful things could be channel partnerships, and so figuring
Mhm.
out, where are those channel partnerships? Maybe it's actually what you talked about last time with maybe some of those VC portfolios or some of those others. There are just so many different areas that we can dive into, many different campaigns to launch, many A/B tests. So I'm really pumped to, do the go to market live with you and then
Mhm.
strategize with you. And uh, yeah, I it's
I
kind of
I
like
can
the thing on my end, like I mentioned, it's great talking with target customers and helping them succeed. So I
yeah, and
appreciate
there's
you
always
being able to do this live.
yeah, of course. Very happy to do this, and I think when you build stuff, you realize how valuable it is to have a, for lack of a better word, I'm calling myself one, a guinea pig to kind of like run through the experiments. But a conscious guinea pig is the best thing, because when you're a conscious guinea pig, you know you're a guinea pig, so your expectations are set properly, but you're actually trying to pick and poke and try to find as much information as you can, trying to improve your product while also getting the benefits of the product myself. And so I think that ends up being a great scenario for both parties, is being able to essentially uh, run through what would be full workflow for your product, your service, and then giving you a full iteration to actually be able to improve that product. And I get the benefits of actually using it and seeing the benefits for my company. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, and I'll share one final thing, and then I'll let you go. So it's and I'm not even sure if I mentioned this to you on our initial call, but when we first launched the MyWorker product, I mean, it's such a crazy difficult product to build. If you really think about it, there's so much that's happening behind the scenes that we could talk about it for hours and hours and hours and not even get to the bottom of everything. But because it's such a difficult product to build, it's not like one of these like a code like Lovable or Cursor, one of these
Mhm.
no code tools that is technically speaking much easier to build. It's much more wide ranging, and in our early testing with early customers, it was just very difficult to get things to work. And about 3 months ago is really where we crossed, I think, a really critical threshold with the product where it started performing better than, human level SDRs that you might hire that are using these other tools. And now that it's at this point, I'm just super excited to be doing this in public, and I'm doing it with you so everyone can see, how it works and see the results live.
Yeah, I think as a founder, you get to see the day to day, and you get to kind of deal with the constant, um, you know, small peaks of success, but then the valleys of despair that you constantly fall into. And then you internally know when you've hit some milestones. Like we do it at Timestamp too, where we know very recently in the last couple months we've hit some milestones where we feel like the user experience is just 10x. And it's hard to
Hmm.
describe how much better it is than it was 6 months ago to someone that used it 6 months ago, you know?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
It's just a different world, and I think that's the cool thing about building is that you get to see the progress on a day-to-day basis, but people that might be your customers get to see the leaps and bounds, and without having to see uh, all the difficulties behind the scenes necessarily. So yeah, kudos to you for building this. I think it's a great idea, but I also see not just the idea, and the execution makes sense to me, and I'm excited to use this and be a beacon for other people that might be considering MyWorker.
Amazing, man. Sounds great. Well, thanks again. Appreciate you jumping on. And until next time, we'll
All
catch you
right, well,
later.
see ya.
Peace. All right, everyone. You just heard from the man, the myth, the legend in person, Armin. So, really excited to have been able to bring him on. Also, I'm with my buddy Andres here. If you
Damn,
guys,
30 viewers.
yeah, if you guys had been watching some of the previous streams, you've heard Andres on stream. He's the CEO of Rent Kasaya. You know what? I'll toss it up here. So
Will you play chess?
actually, I gotta check my phone and check. Do you want to explain what you do while I message this customer?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, Kasaya. All right. Maybe that. Sure. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Go off screen.
Hey chat, how's everything? This is so professional, damn.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
I'll
So,
make you a little bit bigger. Or actually, let me do this.
damn, I didn't fix my hair. This is gonna be fucked up.
Okay.
So, Kazuya is an AI real estate agent. So we basically have automated the rental process of residential properties for landlords and property management companies. And by doing so, we save time and money to them. So basically, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but like renting a place is like a very risky business in many places around the world. Some may be more familiar with that is if you're in California, maybe Washington State, or in Canada, because the laws are not in your favor, right? If you get a tenant that's gonna trash the place and not pay rent, well, too bad for you because you have the odds against you, right? So you may lose like thousands of dollars and basically uh, take maybe 1 to 2 years in order to be able to evict that person. So this is why we got inspired to build out a platform that will help us like get tenants to see the listings, and also we vet them. So we run a background check to make sure that this person is going to be a good fit, because to be honest, like I rent myself, and I personally see that there's a lot of great renters, like people who are like good people, right? A lot of us are good people who just want to have a place to be. We just want to pay the rent on time, not cause any issue, right? But there's people that do the whole opposite, and they create a bad reputation and make things harder for us, right? Because what happens then? A lot of landlords or people, because they're scared that someone's gonna trash their place, they start putting up very like some type of screening that may not even follow the regulations of the state or country they're at, which is one problem. And the second problem is that this whole thing, if it becomes too standardized by like a lot of people do it, like the renter gets affected, right? Makes it harder for you to be able to find a place to live and actually go through the process. So we eliminate all of that, right? We provide a platform that makes it super easy for anyone to rent and show that they are a great fit. And yeah, hopefully this will be something that can impact a lot of people's lives, right? Positively on the renter side and on the landlord side.
Yeah. Also, thank you, White Aperture, for the follow on Twitch. Appreciate that. All right, so guys, we've got a action-packed couple of hours here.
So you're gonna play
There's-
chess?
Chad, do you guys want me to play chess? There's quite a bit of work to get done. So my customer call just got rescheduled to like an hour from now. Talking with one of our internal team members here on the finance team in actually exactly 1 hour. So I'll put the customer call right after that at 1:30. You want to hit the WeWork at some point, right?
I mean, it would be good if we do something, yeah. So I would
Yeah, maybe at
want to
2.
also check with Leo.
So we'll stay on stream for the next hour. How about that? Stay on stream for the next hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then that'll be good for today. So for the next hour, you told them about what you're working on?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Chat, drop in what your thoughts are on what Andres is building. I got his website up here. I think it's great. All right. White Aperture. Here we go. I feel like we could do a little podcast here, you and me, man, while you're in town. We could do it live to the 31 people watching.
For sure, man. One day.
Okay, I can interview you.
Right now?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna have the interview with the worst hair possible. Amazing.
Do you want to? I have a hat. I'll give you a couple hat options. Chat, 1 second. I'm going to interview Andres. We're just going to get him a hat. Okay. Okay, this is from a VC.
Nice.
If you want
Gorilla
a hat
VC.
from, you try this on.
The Gorilla VC.
Yeah, that's one hat. Okay. Chad, what do we think? How does Andres look in that hat? Oh, that's pretty
Do I
good.
look more decent?
That's honestly a pretty good look.
Yeah,
I like that. That's probably the winner, but I'm gonna give you 2 other options.
That's
So-
the country.
It's too country. This is from Shellback Tavern.
See, I knew it. That's the country.
No. It's a very popular bar. It's in Manhattan Beach.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is. Do you want
Manhattan
to try this
Beach.
on?
I didn't know Manhattan had beaches.
So there's that, and then I got one that's really fitting for you. Here, try this one on.
The UPS one now, man.
The UPS hat.
No, I'm not using the UPS one. You can
Okay.
use the UPS one.
Okay, we'll interview you in this one.
Yeah, interview.
Well, for those of you who don't know, I used to run the SAS Mining podcast, so I haven't interviewed someone in a while. My podcasting skills might be a little outdated, but I will do my best here on the spot. Okay, so you already told them about what you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so assuming that the viewers, you have a full background here. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the actual building process. So I think that building, a lot of people, it's like you'll see it from the outside and it looks very glamorous. They'll see the big wins, but they don't see all the hits you take. And especially when you dive into building any business in a niche or a vertical, like in this case, you're automating the real estate market.
Yeah.
What are some of the unique challenges or problems that someone listening might not see behind the surface? Like, what is something that when you were building this company, you thought, wow, I can't believe it's done this way, or this is happening?
I mean, basically, the first thing is like adaptation. People are very slow to adapt to a new product. That depends on the industry, right? But usually in legacy industries, they stay legacy because like they don't like change, right? They say, "Oh, my pen and paper works, so I'm just gonna stick to it. Why change anything, even though it may make me more money or make things faster?" But that's one of I think that's the main issue when it comes to legacy industries. And I don't know how it works like that much in the US, but at least in Canada, Canada is already like I feel like a slow country compared to the US.
You were just telling me about this.
Yeah, I was telling you about this. So now, if you add that on top of that, it makes it even harder because, okay, so you build something like this, you show it to certain people, right? Let's say some property managers, and they say, like, oh, amazing, because this will make my job so much easier. I will have to like more time to focus on other things that actually matter, etc. Like they can provide so many things, like, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. So now let's go to the decision makers, right? The one that's gonna say like whether this is gonna be implemented or not. And then the decision maker is like, yeah, but you know, it's just too much to just add something new like this. You know, we've been doing it with a pen and paper for a long time, and it's working really, really well for us. Um, so yeah, we'll just stick to that. And I'm like, no, this is crazy, you know, like because do you realize that this could like make you more money, right?
Yeah.
Like this is so crazy to me to think that I don't know if they feel lazy about this whole process or they just like maybe are scared of change.
They really want their feather pen to.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why as well. Like a lot of these people in legacy industries, they're very old. If you
How
think
old
about
are
it,
they?
I mean,
on
in
average?
general, because like if you think about it right now, I mean, this is like boomers, right? Like boomers own most industries, right? The and a lot of them, especially in legacy industries, they are not up to date with what's going on, especially in tech. So they're like, I mean, I don't understand this. This is too new. Why do it, right? Like what's I've been doing since like for many years, like it's been working good enough for me. Good enough for me. That's a key word. Good enough.
How?
Yes.
If you had $1 for every time you heard "good enough," you'd probably
mean-
have at least $50. I mean,
You
you
know-
could buy a decent meal with all the good enoughs.
You know, and the crazy thing is like this happens in almost every legacy industry, even like public transit. That's something that actually impressed me the most. For example, I've worked with this transit company called Trellis Transit, and like they supposedly have made the best transit system in the world, right? So no pollution, like removes carbon from the world, like efficiency, very cheap to make. So you present this to the government, and the government is like, I mean, that's super cool, but you know what? What we have already was good enough. It may cost us like way more money. It may be less efficient, polluting. It will be like a whole inconvenience for the rider, right? But we don't care, you know, it was just decent enough, you know.
This
and
is why free market's so good, because when there's an actual competition for whatever needs to get
Yes.
done, it's like you got the market forces pushing you rather than some dude sitting on money that they're not having to compete
Yes.
for or earn.
And I think that's something that the US has like an advantage on compared to like other countries. Like, and I feel that's really important, and I feel the US should focus on preserving that because then you have, even though it's not as noticeable, but if you look at other places, like the place where I'm coming from, like Canada, just even if it doesn't look like it, there's a lot of oligopolies, right? Let's say for communications, for groceries, for healthcare, like all of these industries are oligopolies or monopolies. So what happens then is like everything was going really well for a while, but then after a while you start seeing that productivity decreases, the profit margins have become like massively wide, but like the new like income for the work has barely increased anything. Like you see a lot of negatives, and it's just because they control everything and they can basically do whatever they want. Like they cannot care about innovation. They're like, why do I need innovation? Like who's gonna outcompete me if I don't add innovation into the whole equation, right? So yeah, like that's crazy to me. And the worst part is like it's become so normalized in some places like there that I've spoken to a few VCs and they literally say like, I mean, But that makes sense, the fact that you got rejected in these like industries, because you don't try to disrupt healthcare in
No
this
disruption.
country. Yeah, why
Your
would you
disruption
why would you
level's
try
way
to
too low.
disrupt healthcare in this country, or someone like, why would you try to disrupt like the transit industry in this country? And then I'm thinking like, that's crazy to me. Like, you're a VC, like this whole thing with tech and everything is about disruption,
I think
right?
this is your job.
I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm not disrupting something, then what's the point of doing a startup, right? Like, why am I better than the competition if I'm not making something like amazingly better, right? And if I'm not gonna get the support, so yeah, that makes me very, very mad.
It makes you very, very, very mad.
Yeah, because if you step aside from the money and stuff like that, and you look at the impact that it would have on people, like the positive impact, it's crazy, because like people's lives could change forever, but it's not happening just because of those issues, right?
Yeah. So I guess in terms of like what you're building, what do you think the future in real estate is going to look like? Like in a world where you have exponentially more powerful AI, in a world where you have a changing future of work and job force, and based on everything that you know in what you're building.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any predictions?
I mean,
Like
The-
what
the-
would you say that someone would be like, wow, I was not expecting.
I mean, the
that.
crazy thing to me is that because it's a legacy industry, like you see a broker in between, like everything that's going on, whether it's like you're buying and selling a house or you're like renting a place. And this is very outdated model, right? Like you need to have a person, and because you need to have a person, you need to like generate money. So like the fees are massively high.
Yeah.
So like what I'm looking forward to is like, if we can break the barrier for adaptation, we can remove all of that and like save a lot of money for like the home buyer, like the seller, the renter, the landlord, which is great. But all of these people in this industry are going to have to shift somewhere else. And I have like, that would be the best outcome when it comes to adaptation. But just because of how big is this legacy industry and how like it's already so well established, a lot of companies that I've seen that are in a similar space than me, others focus on buying and selling, they're literally focused on selling to the brokerages, right?
Yeah.
To the realtors, like, and I think that's wrong, because, I mean, if you think about it, the tool already could do the whole job itself, right? So you're just selling to the like these brokerages because it's easier, because they're already established, right? And that may work for a bit. But if you want to actually disrupt the market and actually provide real value to the clients, you need to actually take over the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming for, but it's really difficult. And also it brings up like a lot of other things. Like right now, like when you're early, of course, like you don't get much attention, which is good. But once you start growing, you get the attention of these legacy industries, which, remember, they have a lot of power, and they may try to find a way to put you down. That's a big problem. For example, something I've seen when speaking to certain investors, one of them literally told me, like, you're gonna be very careful, because they're gonna try to find a way, the realtors associations, to put you down if it actually takes off like that, right? Because their whole industry, their whole everything that they built on that will be at risk.
Yeah.
Right. And
maybe they'll just buy you out.
they may try to, maybe, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's not my goal, right? I mean, no, that
Oh,
would
you're
be
trying
too
to
easy.
stick it to them.
Yes, because that would be too easy, right? I mean, this is really, really hard, more than any other like traditional thing. And then to just sell it to them is like, no, why would I do that?
No way.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
you.
And even like realtors and a lot of people, they get scared about that. And even like very early right now, I get certain messages from people saying like, I'm gonna report you. And I'm like, why? Like,
They're
I don't
gonna
know, just gonna try to
tattletale.
report you
Well,
for
just tell-
something.
I
and
would
try
never tattletale.
and
on
trying
you,
to
Andres.
see like what can take you down or your business. And I'm like, because you're trying to basically take away my job or stuff like that. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
next time they bully you, let us know. We'll put it out to our 31 followers. We'll give them out.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but I mean, that's expected whenever you're trying to do like any type of disruptive startup, like real disruption, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's interesting.
Okay. Also, have you seen these? Did I show you these?
What?
I'm gonna grab them real quick. These are Bitcoin trading cards.
Bitcoin trading cards.
Yeah, so you saw my Pokemon.
Yeah.
right? I mean, got to show these to the chat.
Do you got the NFT for this?
You can open them. Open them up. So chat, these are Bitcoin trading cards.
And do these actually have like value?
Yeah, dude, this is, I mean, on the back, it's actually really cool. This is number 58 out of 210 cards. And only 210. Do you know how many Charizards? You know the Pokemon card, the Charizard, the really, really rare one that everyone wants. Some of them have sold for like over $100,000.
Yeah, okay.
There are about 10,000 Charizards, and there are only 210 of these in the world.
Okay.
I'm friends with one of the guys at the Bitcoin trading card company, and he was hooking me up with some packs.
But what makes this unique? What allows like people to make counterfeits of this?
What do you mean?
Like
Make
because people
counterfeits?
can make counterfeit like fake ones, and they.
I mean, really, anyone could try and make a counterfeit of anything.
I mean,
card,
yes, but
yeah. Well, so this is actually, I really like this card. When I was running the SAS Mining podcast, this guy, Newt, he was on the podcast. He does not look like this in person. I mean, this guy looks like a Greek god. Look at that. I mean, I would be flattered if this was my trading card. So, yeah, there's that. We used to sponsor this podcast, the Simply Bitcoin podcast.
that's a podcast.
Yes. Austrian economics card. That's pretty cool. Here, you can hold these.
And
These are
if you
valuable
sell them, like,
cards.
does these actually have value in Bitcoin?
Yeah, these are actually all good cards. I'm trying to think about any other cards that Jeff Booth was also on the podcast. I got a Jeff Booth. Oh yeah, this is the Jeff Booth card. Yeah, he's one of the partners and founders at Ego Death Capital,
Do you
a
have?
Bitcoin investment fund.
Do you,
Oh, and here are my prized possessions here.
do you have one of yours? Like
These are, yeah, I'm going to be in a future series of this, by the way. But here's a Michael Saylor card. So these are all different levels of rarities. So there are only 699 of these. There are 700 of the purple ones, and then there are 1,000 of the orange. So every single card printed, there are only 1,000 of or less. They're
Okay.
all of these are ultra rare.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the super early like Pokemon cards, right?
But like I never get like why Pokemon cards are valuable. Like why would you care? Like I remember I used to have them as a kid,
Yeah.
and then I just like threw them. I didn't give a fuck. And also for Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. Like why do these like have value? Like why do people think it's valuable? It's just a card in
Yeah.
cardboard.
Why
you
does
know?
anything have value?
I
It's the
mean,
value that people ascribe to.
Yeah, like that's
you
what I
know?
don't get when it comes to the Pokemon cards. Like that's
Well,
so
Pokemon
crazy.
cards have been printed into oblivion. It's going to be really hard to have valuable Pokemon cards. But yeah, look at all these, man. Look at all these cards. I got a couple newts.
Okay,
Yeah. So
interesting.
yeah, if you're ever in the market for some Bitcoin trading cards, I guess that is a shout out to the Bitcoin trading card company.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got a follow-up question. Let's say that you are speaking to a realtor or
Okay.
someone who is listing their build. Because at the end of the day, it seems like your company, your website, it's a two-sided marketplace. You've got
Yeah.
the end buyer who's trying to rent and get into a place, and then you've got the people who own the building who are trying to get the renter. And so you're removing this middleman of the broker.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, let's say that you were talking to the realtor or the property manager, the person who owns the building, basically. What would you tell them if you were giving them like a 30-second high level go with us? What would you tell them?
I mean, basically that we automate everything end to end. So basically, even from when you list, we distribute it everywhere. So then you get tenants, we verify them before you can, like, they can actually schedule a viewing. So you know it's legit. They're gonna be a serious lead. That's the key thing, right? Like right now, anyone could be a lead, but you want like something that could convert. Like,
So
right?
what if I was the person and I said, Andres, rent Casaya seems good, but I already got a broker and I know that he can do the job.
Okay, I mean, if you want to pay him like thousands of dollars, good for you, man. And and also like those thousands of dollars that you're gonna pay like a realtor, by the way, just a fraction of that will go to him actually when it comes to renting, right? And that fraction that he's getting paid to for the amount of work that he has to do is not enough motivation for him to do a good job. That's why if you actually look at the rental space, a lot of people complain from landlords to realtors, like no, from landlords to tenants. Like a realtor, he looks like he doesn't even care about like this whole thing, and it's true because like he's not getting compensated properly. So like he may make mistakes because he's not getting, and if he makes a mistake and you get a bad tenant, that's gonna cost you like 30K plus, and it's gonna take maybe a year or two to get a new tenant.
I see.
To evict them. So I mean, depends on you what you want to choose, but I mean, if you actually care about your property and your money, it makes more sense if you find a proper tool to use the tool.
Yeah. Well, I'm just an old man, you know, and I'm very archaic in my ways, and you know, I'm kind of friends with this broker. He's helped me out for a while. I don't know.
I mean, that's good, you know, like uh, things change. Like everyone's like, there's always people who's gonna wait until like the very end to change to something different. And even then, like maybe the realtor itself will try to use the platform because remember, like for him, it's not a lucrative business. So maybe he will be like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
keep helping you, but he will like on the back will use the platform, right?
Yeah.
So like actually, that's something we've seen. Like we've seen some realtors.
What if
coming-
you go after those brokers and you just say, "Hey, why don't you just do this?"
Yeah, I mean that's actually what's happened. Like
That
they,
actually might be a good idea.
they
'Cause then you
actually-
lock in exclusivity with the brokers.
I mean, they actually came and they like been trying the platform and stuff. That's good, of course, but I mean that's still separated from our end goal of actually like taking care of the whole thing without them.
Yeah.
But I mean that's
Maybe
something.
you start with a little inception, you know. You get
Yeah, I
them in
mean
the
exactly,
door.
exactly. I mean this is, I mean these changes doesn't happen overnight, right? Like if you actually look into like how startups work, they actually take close to 10 years until you actually see like that meaningful impact and change, right? So like it's something that compounds slowly. So I mean we're just gonna have to wait and see how these changes happens.
Yeah, see,
Yes.
if you're watching, you don't want to miss out on this change. As you can see, Andres is quite the disruptor. And so you are going to want to make sure that you tune in the future. Because
Yes.
you will be back, and you will be back to watch him when he's back. And then I'll still be here. So then we're just all back. You know, it's like we never left.
I mean, that's something for a lot of people that they should know. Like, if you're doing a business, no matter what business is, it's gonna take a good amount of time for it to start like showing big changes like that big result, impactful result. A lot of people when they compare themselves to other people that already made it, they're like, oh, but he made it. Like, why haven't I got to that stage yet? Why haven't I done this? Like, they don't look behind that other person was struggling very heavily
long road.
for a long time, right? Like trying to like maybe get investment, try to figure out like because sometimes it could be a one-man team, right? Depending on the circumstances, like trying to figure out the legal stuff, the accounting, the marketing, newsletters, like customer success. Like literally, you're like doing a like the job of a massive business, but on your own, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
super
true.
difficult. That's really difficult.
Thank God for AI on some of these things. It's helping.
Actually,
a
yes.
lot.
Actually, yes.
Dude,
Like
when I was building SaaS mining, I can't believe I did that without AI.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Used to be so much.
Yeah,
So much
if you think about it, like
harder.
right now, just like sending a report, email, stuff like that is super quick due to that, and it still feels like it's taking a lot of your
Yeah.
time.
It's kind of crazy too, because I
Yeah.
got so good at just being able to write emails quickly and just in my head just think through thoughts. But AI's made that so easy now.
Exactly.
But yeah, I guess everyone, I've got to adapt with the times.
Yes, I mean that's so true.
Yeah. Also, we've been talking a little bit about Rent Kasaya, right? So you guys are also a customer of MyWorker.
Yes, we are.
Yes. You want to share your thoughts on MyWorker? And while you're doing that, I actually got to respond to a customer. But yeah, share your thoughts on MyWorker.
I mean, AI sales tools. I've tried a few. The thing is like a lot of people, as we know, especially when you're doing a business at the very early stage, you have a lot of things you have to do, as I mentioned. You're a one-man team sometimes. So the last thing you want to do is waste your time, right? So that's something I've been loving about like AI sales agents, such as MyWorker. You can like trust and leave all the information there and let it just do the work. And the beauty of it is like because it's so quick and you're not wasting your time on that, you can test multiple things. Like you can create multiple campaigns. You can like test maybe a way of pitching the customer a different way as well and see what actually delivers better, right? And by doing so, also like figure out what actually matters to your client. I mean, that's key, right? You want to know what do they care about, what's something they would pay for, what are the actual issues that they have. And that's something a lot of people overlook, right? So I mean, if you can nail those things, you can make a really good business, no matter the size you want it. Some people want like massive, someone medium size. As long as you're happy with the results you're achieving, I mean, that's good, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, like that's why I like MyWorker in general, and the fact that the people working there, like for example yourself, have been putting a lot of like attention into these details and focusing on customer success, right? Like making sure that we actually deliver, and if we need even more details or data, you actually figure that out. Like I remember I was telling you, like it would be amazing that if we could personalize emails even more, so we can connect better with the prospective clients. And then later on you like release a new update that actually pulls data from social media and make sure that it can connect better with the clients. And it's very impressive because it actually delivers so well that sometimes these tools can make mistakes in getting you a lead. For example, it got leads that were not, or ICP. But even then, because it was personalized, the people were like, you know what, this is so cool. Tell me more. I'm very interested. And I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. I don't know, but I mean,
It's so personalized. It's like you almost feel inclined to respond.
Yeah, literally. There was this guy from aviation company, like super different, nothing to do. And he was like, this is so cool. I want to learn more, like, damn. I'm like, okay. Well, I don't know what type of email we sent, but I mean, if you want to get on Kasaya, I mean, go ahead, man.
Hop on Rent Kasaya, and you're automating the real estate market here.
I mean, it's super cool to think.
He was feeling left out. He's seeing all this activity on Rent Kasaya.
I mean, it's super cool that it can sell to someone who you should not be selling to, right? Like that's so crazy to think to, right? Like, but yeah, and the only thing, yeah, I mean, like, and of course, as the technology will get better, these tools will get much better. So this will be a compounding effect. The only thing that makes me think is like, technology is changing so much right now. Maybe emails and all of this will change because this will become too easy. And at the beginning, you all will have like an advantage compared to anyone else who's not using MyWorker AI, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a great time to start using this type of tools before like they try to find a way to patch it because it's too overpowered.
It's
right?
too OP. Yeah.
It's too OP, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, before you never had the chance to actually do like a massive email campaign on your own for your company and try multiple things.
Yeah,
exactly.
hire a lot of people.
Yeah, and personalize it to that level, right? That it doesn't actually feel like it's like an AI or an application.
So, for those of you who are watching, I've got a really interesting. I actually haven't shown you this yet, but you've been part of the customer testing.
Yeah.
So we've got. I'll give you guys the background. Unfortunately, the team asked me not to share it quite yet, but I will. I'll let you know as soon as I do share it. We've been doing this development sprint, customer testing with existing customers and other people in the target market, and we're building a revolutionary avatar product that almost takes MyWorker's current futuristic product, and then it's like, hey, we're taking another time machine loop going further into the future, and this product is so cool. I'm so excited. Have you played around? Were you part of the wireframe testing? Did you see that?
No,
you might not have seen it. It is awesome, and I cannot wait to share it with
exciting.
all the people here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
very cool.
It's really cool how these tools are developing, like the agent tools. Just thinking about, like, for example, Comet or this new OpenAI agent.
Yeah.
I think it's a great time to start doing agent stuff like that, especially if you can actually connect them to these tools like Comet or Agent. Because it will be amazing to be able to have one place from which you can connect to do everything. You can just say, like, to Comet, launch my sales campaign, and then it connects to MyWorker AI.
Yeah.
And then MyWorker just does the whole sales campaign,
That's going to be so crazy.
Yeah, that would be like,
Yeah. So right now, I mean, you heard it earlier while you were working. I was on with the CEO of Timestamp, and we're helping him out with a number of different campaigns going through the ICPs. It allows an individual to scale like an enterprise, but at the end of the day, I'm still going back and forth with him. We're refining things. We're like brainstorming the strategy. But at some point, the AI is going to be able to operate our AI tool better than I can and he can. And then it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
that's going to be a wild, wild time.
Yeah. I mean, and then once you think about it, like everything is starting to also shift into voice, like speaking
Yeah.
to these tools.
That's part of the product that I was just telling you about. that
Yeah,
we're working on.
exactly. So then you're also looking at how, even though now it's more overlooked just because everyone's looking at AI, VR, virtual reality is like a big thing. Like just thinking about how you can apply like virtual reality into an application like this, you can have a whole workspace on your own, like with a VR headset. Like
Yeah, VR.
like I don't know if you think about like the Apple Vision Pro, that you can have multiple screens that you can control and do your work like that. Once you add these applications more in depth into this, like you can have all of this happening there, and while you're just speaking to these tools like comment, like do this, like MyWorker, do this, like all at the same time, it feels like so futuristic and cool that you can just.
I
do that.
actually still haven't played around with Comet yet.
I haven't too as well. No.
Do you need some special access to
Yeah,
get
you
Comet?
need an invite, or you need to be like a Pro Max subscriber, which is the $300 a month. Yeah.
Okay. We're on the OpenAI Pro plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What are we even getting with that right now? Is it just
the
O3?
just the agent and
and the agent.
and of course
Yeah.
Sora
The
and
agent's
stuff.
actually pretty cool.
But I feel like it's kind of
It's so crazy
it's
because
okay.
it's such a futuristic product, but the bar has been set so high that we're just thinking like, oh, it's okay. But like, imagine if OpenAI's agent was launched 3 years ago.
Oof. Yeah, that's true.
But in 3 years, it went from it's like the best product that would have ever been launched ever by a mile to like us talking about it right now. Like, oh, like it's okay.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
yeah,
so
that's so
crazy.
true. Yeah, that it became so normal.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, that's very true.
The
But I
bar's
feel
just
like
been raised.
the pricing barely compensates the products that they provide. Like for example, before it was really hard to actually justify the price. Now with Agent, it's more justified.
Mhm.
But I still complain that they haven't updated Sora for video generation.
Yeah,
Like
Sora,
they're like really far behind.
they were falling behind.
Yeah,
that,
exactly. And when it comes to the agent, we don't know if that the way they work is something that actually is the right way to do it forward, or
Mhm.
maybe Comet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because interestingly, Perplexity is taking a very interesting like approach to this, right? Because you can also create like slides, reports, everything with Perplexity Labs, but then you have Comet for like everything when it comes to your browser and stuff like in real agent. So
Should we become Perplexity fanboys? We're OpenAI right now, but I feel like we need to
I mean,
shift over.
at the very beginning, I was like full on Perplexity, like because remember before you couldn't
I
access the
remember that,
web,
yeah.
you couldn't access the web with OpenAI.
Yeah,
And
which is
that was-
crazy to think about.
I know, and like Perplexity was super overpowered because of that, you know.
Yeah,
And
because
then
it's important. You need web access.
yeah,
Like,
and
no brainer.
I think OpenAI, in a lot of things, they're like, how do you call it, like risk averse. Like they wait for someone else to do them, and if it takes off, they actually like try to also get into that space. Like for example, were very against having like up-to-date information with AI until Perplexity did it, and it was going crazy, and they were like, no, we cannot stay behind. So they added it, even though they weren't like in favor of it or anything.
Yeah,
And then you see later they were like, oh, we're gonna focus on AGI and stuff, but we're gonna test some stuff out. But then Perplexity is like Comet, and they're like, no, we need to launch our own agent. So the way we're gonna do it, because we haven't built most of the stuff like to compete like that, maybe we'll just add a virtual machine and let the AI work on that. And then it's also like for video generation, for like even for coding, like Cursor,
I
Windsurf.
forgot that they have codecs too.
Yeah, like OpenAI was like, no, you know what? That was our thing. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna launch Codex, and then we're like, you know what? People are like not paying as much attention to Codex. We're gonna try to buy Windsurf. We need to take over this. Like why
Yeah.
are we not doing this? Yeah. So yeah, I feel they wait to be the second player, so maybe that way they have less risk probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then after they see that someone take off, they like try really hard to get there,
Yeah.
which is kind of a
It's actually funny hearing you say this because I never really thought about that, but everything that you just mentioned, it's so true. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have to see now what someone else does that they're gonna try to copy.
Well, I guess everything moves so quickly now that if you think about just the velocity of what has been shipped by OpenAI in just the past 3 years, it's crazy. They're moving at lightning speed, but they're also just trying to compete on so many different layers. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're trying to have the best video generation, the best like search, the best base AI model, the best browser agent, the best coding agent.
Yeah,
How are you legitimately supposed to compete and be the very best in the world at all those things?
I know it's really hard. Like, I mean, they're bleeding a lot of money and also a lot of talent because literally, like Mark Zuckerberg, he's like, give me all those researchers, like he's literally poaching them. Like, damn, he's going crazy. I'm very concerned. I'm very curious to see what he's gonna launch.
Yeah.
If he doesn't deliver, I'm gonna be very disappointed. Like, he
I
went
mean,
through
he's
this
got the
whole
people
thing.
now,
I mean,
yeah.
he's got the people now. If he doesn't do anything amazing, then it's gonna be on him, man. Yeah.
Yeah. He went full founder mode, just recruiting.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean, for me, one of the most crazy things to think about is like how Facebook just went from being like a just regular social media platform to being like this massive AI competitor in this space. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck was Mark Zuckerberg thinking to do? Like, what kind of vision did he have for this, right? Because what is this transition? Like, we're just a social media for Harvard people or and just normal people. No, you know what? We're gonna take over the world in every way possible. Like we're gonna have AI, the metaverse.
I mean, Zuck is kind of like a robot, but he is a hardcore executor, high level founder.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he's someone who took like you mentioned, just dating social thing for Harvard,
Yeah.
and then turned it into one of the biggest companies in the entire world.
I know.
And then now in AI, all of a sudden, and he pivoted to VR and did all that,
Yeah.
and then he realized the tech wasn't there, which it was interesting. I was talking with someone at these labs. Long story short, the tech's not there.
Yeah.
They need a couple more breakthroughs, and then he sees what's happening in AI. He says, okay, well, we're going to launch an open source model, Llama. This is
Yeah.
going to be where we live. And then he didn't have enough talent, and then he saw that AI was going to be this big thing that was going to fundamentally be the biggest industry, decision maker, winner or loser.
Yeah.
And then he said, screw it, I'm going all in, and then just starts dropping these massive contracts.
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy thing is that he's doing really good in like all of the spaces he actually has gone into, which is really, really impressive. He's just going up, up, up. Something which makes me think like, for example, Elon Musk, he also like someone who goes all in like crazy in all of spaces, but
Yeah.
now he's having a really hard time because now the competition for him has gone crazy. Like the Chinese like companies, they're like competing him, like out competing him probably in Neuralink with the like robo taxis, like with electric cars. Like
I didn't know that he was getting outcompeted in Neuralink.
yes, like the Chinese have their own thing, and supposedly from what they've shown is like more advanced than Neuralink.
Really?
So like
Wow.
you see, like right now, I feel like that's why maybe the US right now is going all in. Like no regulations, we don't care. Like just go all in on tech because I mean they don't want to lose this, right? Like I mean once if Elon Musk loses on these like things, like who's gonna compete there anymore? Like there will be no one else, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, who's gonna do like the Neuralink, like the robot taxis, Tesla, all of these things. So yeah, it's kind of scary, you know.
It is.
I mean, he must be
Wow.
very concerned, right? Like
He must be very
even for
concerned.
yeah, because I mean, like SpaceX as well. Like I mean, it's going good, but like the Chinese also have like their own space program. I don't know how good that is though, but yeah, the Chinese companies are like taking over the market.
Wow.
They're
I
very
completely forgot
heavily
about the Chinese.
and they're doing it so well. I mean, it's not like the thing they just like cheap and shitty product. No, it's like an actual cheap, really good product, right? Like they're like electric cars, they have lidars, they're like really well done. So I mean, to be fair, like even like the Ford CEO, he's been traveling to China to see these electric vehicles, and he's like, I love their cars. I bought one myself to try it out, and I don't want to.
Ford.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to try like other cars because like this one is so good. I really got into this thing, and he's like very concerned as well because he's like, you know what, I don't think anyone else is like competing with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting, man. Well, I think that this was really good. I got to check the time here to see when my call is with my teammate. Okay, I'm going to set an alarm. It's in 20 minutes. All right. We appreciate you viewers for sticking in. You guys are getting, and also if you got a question that you want to ask Andres or myself, feel free to drop it in the chat. You can pretend like you're the interviewer. All right, I'm just setting an alarm real quick so I don't miss my call here. And we'll actually, you know what? Here's what we'll do. We are going to use the last 18 minutes that we have before we sign off. And what we'll do is we'll chat. I'll take this call. We'll go to WeWork.
Yeah.
And I'll take my other call. But I mean, we'll close this down after the next 18 minutes. So this is the last. You guys are here for the end of the stream. So the 32 of you stuck around. You guys. Oh, actually, I should probably mention, you guys want to stay involved, be the first to hear about the new product launch that we have at MyWorker. If you want to get involved with MyWorker and actually use it to grow your business, or if you want to actually earn prizes for joining our Discord. He's laughing because we were joking around about this yesterday, but we have a Discord that you can join and you can participate in the different challenges, earn XP, potentially top this leaderboard. And I'm going to toss that into the chat right now. So I'm going to toss this link in just so you guys have the ability to stay in the loop here. Andres is laughing. He's loving it. All right.
You didn't tell them about the gift cards, man.
Okay, yeah. Andres, do you want to tell them?
Yeah. So basically, he's giving out money. So the only thing you need to do is grab one of the videos he's already edited and all, and then just upload it on TikTok or whatever. And then, yeah, that's it. You get XP, and if no one else has done it, which no one has until now, because it launches tomorrow.
Yeah, it hasn't even launched yet. You guys are on the ground floor here.
You'll just get like $150, and if you make 2 more accounts and you do the same, you can get $300 because you could be the first one, so all the money is yours if you actually do this. So easy money.
Yeah, that actually is a good point. There are not many people in our Discord right now.
Exactly. So take the chance right now.
So there's very little competition for these prizes, and we're going to continuously drop out prizes. So he just mentioned the prize we have going on.
Right now it's an Amazon gift card, but then he's like asking if anyone wants like actual like money, like or sats. Or Bitcoin.
Satoshis. If you want Bitcoin, we can pay you in Bitcoin.
Yeah, he also can do that. So it's a good chance, to be honest. And if you guys don't do it, I will do it because I mean, $300 sounds like an amazing deal.
He's gonna do it, and he's a CEO. All right, we got one person. White Aperture. Let's go. Hop in that Discord. We'll get you in, and if you join our Zealy community, I think that he could potentially win the #1 prize.
I mean, yeah,
potentially, as long as you don't outcompete him.
I mean, depends how much I need the $300.
Yeah. Okay. So we've covered a lot. We're gonna use these last 15 minutes in the best way. Don't compete, please. Yeah, dude. I think White Aperture is gonna potentially outcompete you.
Yeah.
Not to throw you under the bus, but I mean, we see commitment here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about AI. We've talked about rent kasaya. Talked about the future of AI. Now, there is one thing that I think is really interesting that we haven't talked about. And so you're originally from Bolivia, right? And you've kind of made this transition from Bolivia to Canada, and you've built along the way. So a lot of people probably, I don't know, maybe we've got a lot of Bolivians tuning in, but most people, I'm guessing, if you're watching, you're not from Bolivia. So if you were to say what the biggest difference is in terms of your experience or living in Bolivia and what the experience is like there versus moving out and what you've seen in Canada or what you've seen in the US? What's an interesting thing that you think most people watching wouldn't know?
The levels of corruption, literally, and like the people and the levels of corruption. Like for example, people I would say are very extroverted and very social. You may not know. I mean, actually, it depends on the U.S., but in general, also in the Bolivia, where I'm from, Santa Cruz, people are very open. They're like very like, hey, how are you? Very talkative.
Yeah.
You find this type of thing also in California. That's why I like California. But you don't find that in the east coast of the US and in Canada in general. So that was a big thing. People are more reserved. They think it's kind of weird if you just go like that. Hey, you know. And then the corruption levels. That's crazy to me because in my home country, I say that it's no man's land in the fact that you could do basically whatever you want, and you can just bribe yourself out of anything. Literally, like, and yeah, and this is very often like something that you see, which is sad because it creates its own problems, but also gives you the freedom to do all the other like stuff, right? For example, when I was younger, we used to like do like car racing, and we will not
car racing.
Yeah, like car racing. Yeah, like
like driving.
Yeah. Like with our cars, we just like race.
I was thinking like go-karts or something.
No. Like actually, our cars like in the highway, like avenues. Sometimes there were the cops there, and he will be trying to stop, and my friends will just like evade them and just continue racing, and they will not care. Like
Oh my God.
And if by some reason they may actually stop you, they literally would just say like, I have these. $4 Canadian, well, the currency 20 Bolivianos, like will be like $4 Canadian, maybe $3 US. Go buy yourself some chicken, man.
For $3, you just buy your way out.
They of course would want more, but you say like, oh, I have nothing more, man. I just have this. So you want this or no? And they will be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, give me that shit for my chicken, Which is kind of sad, but this would happen. So then you can just continue driving like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gives you certain things. Like I have some people that actually like this type of things because we actually once went to an actual racetrack in the city, and you could bribe the guards. Like it was like from the whole city, and we just were like, yeah, we just pay you this amount and just let us in. And he's like, yeah, for sure, just don't be careful with my animals, because he had some animals as well. Yeah, for sure. So we're just like in the official place for race, we're just racing. Like
that is crazy.
Yeah, and I had a friend from the UK, and he was like, this is crazy. You'll never see this in the UK.
I think you'll see that in many places.
And the only thing the guy said, like, just be careful with my animals. Like, that's crazy.
Wait, so there are animals on
a
racetrack? Or?
Yeah, because like it's like what do you call, like outdoor, like off road. So it's like so.
So there's like a pen in the center.
It's with dirt, it's like that type of racetrack,
Yeah,
it's more like that type of race car. So the guy, he had his animals, because he has plants, so he just have them there, his own thing. So he was like, I have them somewhere around there, just don't crash with them, and that's it.
Wow. So what's the cost of living there? If you were to live like the average, and then let's say upper class, how much would that cost?
For the country standards, I would say if you're making about, not before the currency devaluated, because now it's devaluating, you could live like a really well-off person with $500 a month, probably, like really well-off, like really well-off.
Really, for $500?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was so
that's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, for a lot of people that's a good amount of money, like a lot of money a month. Interestingly for me, luckily, my family and all they work abroad, but we live there, so we're very well off there. So for me, it's hard to relate to it because that's a big differentiator, right? Like my family, my parents, they didn't work in the country, they didn't earn the local currency, they earned US dollars, but we live there. So for me, I never like felt like I wanted something, I would just go and buy it. Yeah, it was just very comfortable. So yeah, but I knew that for a lot of people that was like a lot of money and a lot of stuff. So
so why leave if everything there is so
Yeah, because
like affordable and
yeah,
comfortable
because like you
in
know,
terms of how much you're earning.
so the trade-off of living in a place that's so crazy like that, and I'm sure this happens everywhere in the world, is like you lose control. Like even the government lose control of the people, right? They lose control of the police, the people, everything. So what's end up happening is like you get a very informal market. Like about 70 to 80% of all of the business that is happening in my country is like not registered, so they don't pay taxes and stuff. So like think about it, like for a whole country, like to 80% of the whole business that's going on to be not be registered and paying taxes. That's crazy, you know. That's like
Yeah, man.
that's ghost type
That's
level.
crazy, yeah.
So I mean that's one thing, and people like there's lack of education as well. So which ends up in choosing bad governments, which ends up, you know, in like devaluating currency, lack of safety. Yeah, because lack of safety, because if you can bribe your way out of anything, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You
It's
don't
a-
want to piss off the wrong person. yeah.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, it's not a stable place. And of course, there comes a point in your life you're like, you know, I want to be in a place that's stable. I can have a comfortable life, happy life. And sadly, that drives a lot of people to move from their home countries. Like, for example, me from there. Yeah, a lot of people I know, they leave, but it's really hard. So they come back because, like, you know, that attachment is really hard, right? To leave behind. For me, I was like, you know, I need to go forward, you know. So I went to Canada, and it was really hard because people are very different. So yeah, I felt it was like very lonely, right? Like that place.
Mhm.
Yeah, back home you could just tell to people, you know, like let's do something. Like you will always be doing something with people outside, right? Like every day almost. Like I would be doing my work or studies, whatever.
Racing.
Then you just meet your friends. You go out to eat, have a nice time
Yeah.
until very late in the night, then go home. Then the same thing, you know.
Sounds fun.
It's
Sounds
very,
like you guys were just hanging
yeah.
out.
I mean,
yeah.
it's very active. It's very active, and like I've seen most of North America, you don't see that. It's really hard. Sometimes because of the cost of living, sometimes because of, you know, a lot of factors, which makes a lot of people feel very lonely, I guess. And I feel that's why one of the reasons you see a lot of mental health problems in North America.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
people
also
need
feel
to
like it's
socialize.
like you mentioned, for $500 a month, you can live in Bolivia. It's a
Yeah.
lot easier to sustain yourself. So if they leave there and they think that, you know, let's say that they're making 4K a month, right?
Oh, but that's the thing. Like,
That can barely get them by in the US, but they
Yeah.
would have been living like a king in Bolivia. So why
Yeah.
would they stay in the US? They would
well,
just go
well,
back.
that's the thing, you know. Like people make much less than that in general, like as a wage, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's still decent enough that you can live more comfortably, I feel, compared to the US. I feel in the US the wages don't match very well, you know, the cost of
Yeah.
living.
I mean, it's crazy. I
In-
don't understand.
I
how
feel in Bolivia
people
was much
in general-
better, but now it's going downhill because, you know, of the devaluating currency and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, people could, you know, have that flexibility. But it's the opposite. Like if you actually live there and earn local currency and you want to live to anywhere else, you're in a more disadvantageous position, right? Because I mean, think about it. If $500 a month is like actually already like something really good for like a lot of people, you cannot easily go to the US. Like what can you do with that amount of money? What if you save that amount of money? What can you do here? Nothing, right?
Nothing. Yeah.
So it's much harder for them to do that transition into other places if they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it makes sense to just live abroad until you spin something up, internet native business, to make enough money to move to the US.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's some very true.
I mean, is the infrastructure in Bolivia good enough where you could have access to do, like, could we do this right here in Bolivia?
no.
We couldn't.
No,
Okay.
like the internet sucks, and getting all this equipment will be very difficult because remember, there's a lot of corruption and stuff. So if you actually order something online, once it gets to customs, it will disappear. Unless you have like a connection in
yeah.
customs that will help you out, it will just disappear. You'll never see it.
I see. So
yeah,
the equipment would never make it.
exactly.
What if you traveled there with the equipment? I guess that's the only way.
Well, depends. In
Unless
the
they
airport,
take it at the
in the
airport.
airport, they may try to steal it. Yeah,
Oh my
because
God.
they'll be like, "What is this? You know, this seems very suspicious. You know, we may have to confiscate
You
this
might
stuff.
have
You know,
to-
yeah, we may have to keep some of this stuff. You know, this is very suspicious stuff. You know,
Yeah.
But
Oh
yeah.
my God.
yeah, that's the problem with this type of countries.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that makes a little bit more sense.
yeah, that's
you
why
would
it has its pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying. That's
Sweet,
what it
man.
is.
Well, this was good. Anything else we should cover here while we're still on? Any final questions? Appreciate all you guys sticking through. This was an awesome stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, good action
I mean,
packed.
it
We
actually
keep it
is.
action packed here.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say is like, you can find around the world many places that are very affordable that you can go to, that the infrastructure is very like well made, so that you can actually go. If you actually want to do some type of online business, whether it's a startup or whatever, and you want to go all in and have like a limited budget, go to one of these places,
Yeah.
and then your money will go a long way, and you can test it out very properly. And
Yeah.
it will be a very cool experience, because going to a new country expands your mind like a lot. Like, it's a different type of thing. You will never learn that from even by staying home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. Traveling is
yeah, it
massive,
opens
yeah.
your mind so much. It's worth it. Even if it fails, then you can just come back, right?
Mhm.
But you said like I was able to spend like 2 years like in a whole other side of the world, trying to do my online business or whatever I was trying to do. Like, the experiences I had were crazy. I mean, it was worth it, and you had the experience, so it wasn't like a complete waste of time, right? You hopefully made in that time network experience, etc., so you can transition into something new.
Yeah. Actually, to that point, and not to plug the stream, it's going to sound like I am, but the concept of going and traveling, wherever you go, you're going to, like you mentioned, you're going to learn new things.
Yeah.
And then whenever you're building something, especially, it's like you're getting a fast track education. It's one of the reasons why I didn't like school, is that when you go to school, it's just so many things that you have to do where you think, okay, why does this matter? Why do I need to know all of these random formulas and things that you can just look up online that you're never going to need? But when you're building a business, that is like the highest signal clarity of what you should and could be learning, and that's going to give you fulfillment in learning. And that was actually one of the things that I really wanted to do on stream here, because when I was looking at this world of possibilities of things out there, you've got so many streamers, so many people building things, but there's not really anyone doing something like this, like building in public, where it's like the viewer, you come on the journey where you learn something. Like, just think about the conversation, the 2 hours that we had today. We covered so much, like target customer, CEO conversations, AI, future of work, what it's like in Bolivia, all these different
Yeah.
places. And, we're both building businesses. So we're doing this, and this is kind of regular in terms of us executing, learning, etc. But this type of stuff isn't out there,
Yeah, exactly.
So, but we want to bring that into the stream. And thank you, White Aperture. I appreciate it. And I hope that you stay tuned. And we also want to get people involved too, like with the community thing, with the Discord, with Zealy. It's like, we want to bring you guys on the ride. We literally just started. I think that I called this like day 3 of building $1 billion plus unicorn. But we're going to be doing this every day at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So stay tuned. And Andres, you're gonna be here. You're staying at my place, so we're gonna be able to have more of these conversations. And yeah, any of you guys watching, feel free to toss anything in the chat if you want us to focus on that. Can we close it on that?
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good.
All right, sweet. See you guys.